Parish School System Community Resource Forum for students, parents, and guardians of students in our district. I'm Ellen Castellanos. I'm a program specialist with the Department of Special Education. I'm what you could call the Leap Connect supervisor, which is the alternate assessment program. Before we get started, our Executive Director of Special Education, Holly Ortego, I'd like to thank her for her encouragement and direction in our efforts to reach out to students in our district to provide them with valuable information about resources that may be able to help them in all areas of their lives. I'd also like to thank Mr. Francis Touchette, our superintendent. His high expectations for us at the Department of Special Education and of our students challenge us every day to do our best. So that's part of what we're intending to do here today. Reach out to students, parents, and their guardians to provide them this information in as many formats, as many ways as we possibly can. The purpose of this meeting, this forum, is to provide information about those community resources, as I said. The resources in Lafayette for individuals with disabilities are vast and varied. Again, our intention is to provide the best education in the Lafayette Parish through our public school system, and to teach to the whole child, giving them everything that they need to leave our school system and live successful, happy, satisfying, productive lives. The information that you'll hear about today are services that were listed on the flyer that we sent out. They include, among many things, information about in-home support services, financial support, case management services, guidance on age of majority issues, which would be discussing things like continuing tutorship, and much, much more. The presentation right now is for our students who are at the elementary level, but if there are other people at other grade levels listening online, you'll hear good information there as well. The presenters that we have here today are Nicole Flores. She's the Director of Families Helping Families, and Troy Abshire of Acadiana Area Human Services District, also known as OCDD, the Office for Citizens with Developmental Disabilities. They truly are both tireless advocates for individuals with disabilities in the Lafayette area, around our state and beyond. Ms. Flores is the parent of a child with special needs herself and brings a valuable perspective on the processes that will be discussed today. She's able to, for those of us in the Lafayette Parish school system and in school systems around the state, she can guide our understanding of things that are available for students, and she acts as an advocate as well. Mr. Abshire has been working for decades as a tireless advocate for individuals with disabilities in Lafayette Parish. And he and I have known each other for those decades as well. So I'd like to go ahead and start with Families Helping Families. Ms. Flores will come up and provide some information for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them on Facebook Live, or those of you that are watching the live stream on YouTube. And if we don't answer them live for you, we'll get copies of those questions and reach out to you after the fact. So with that, I'll introduce Ms. Flores. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. As Ellen mentioned, I am Nicole Flores. I am the Executive Director of Families Helping Families of Acadiana. And Families Helping Families of Acadiana is one of 9 family-directed resource centers across the state. All of us either have a disability and or a child with a disability, and we are nonprofits that are available in each LDH region in the state. So if you have any kind of concerns, any kind of needs, questions, you can contact the Families Helping Families in your area, and we can provide help for free. We're a nonprofit. We don't charge for any of our services. We have funding through different state agencies, grants, foundations, and we're there to help you because it's not just a business to us, it's who we are and what we do, because it's very personal. So we can go to the next slide. I can kind of share how I came to Families Helping Families of Acadiana. My daughter, Lillian, was born, she'll be 19 this August. She's actually a student in Lafayette Parish and receives special education services. You can see in the first picture on the top left, that's when she was born. She was born at 26 weeks. She was 1 pound, 4 ounces, so the size of a 20-ounce Coke bottle. And we were able to get help through different programs initially, through early steps. She was in the hospital a lot. And then we got into the school system, and we got help with special education services. Well, I didn't know anything about the disability services at that time, what to do. So later on, probably when she was more like around there, like about 7, I was able to get in touch with Families Helping Families and figure out there were a lot of things that we could get help with, and I just didn't know about it. So that's what started my journey here, getting help with Families Helping Families, and then I became their education liaison in 2017, and then I became the director in 2020. So what we're about is making sure that we can help others just like somebody helped me. I didn't know where to go, what to do, how to get any help. I came to Families Helping Families and learned about all these resources, and now she has a waiver, we have a worker, she has a lot of things we never even knew were possible. And now she's going to be graduating next year, so that's a whole nother story. So that's how I came to Families Helping Families, and a lot of us did. We came for help because we had a disability or a loved one with a disability, and we wanted to learn what resources were there and how we could get help. So that's how I came there. How did the Families Helping Families Network come about? Well, prior to 1988, if you had a disability and you needed help, you couldn't get help in the home. You had to go somewhere, lots of times like an institution. So in 1988, the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council had a conference, and they had all kinds of parents around, and they were talking about, hey, in these other states like Minnesota, Wisconsin, you can go and you can get help in your home and in your community. An adult would not have to be sent away to an institution. They could have a job, they could live and work in their own community. So they talked about all these great things going on, and the conference was about to end, and a parent goes, well, these are all great ideas, but are we just going to leave them up on the wall, or are we actually going to do something about it? So this started a big movement, and you can see that this led to the passage of Act 378, which created Louisiana Community and Family Support System. So you'll hear about a lot of these things, and Mr. Abshire can share some information about those services as well. This act also created the Families Helping Families Network, and we had our 30th anniversary in 2021, and there's 9 centers across the state. So no matter where you go, you can get help. Next slide. So who we are 9 independent centers. We're nonprofits, and we have have a board of directors. There's one in each OCDD region. We're family directed, and it's about helping people learn their rights and how to advocate for themselves. We're a one-stop shop for any kind of disability information. We serve all disabilities and special health care needs. And the main thing is all of us have the belief that individuals with disabilities deserve a meaningful life in their community. So, like I mentioned, there's 9 centers. We all have this basic underlying belief and what we're working for, but each center builds its program based on the needs of its region. So you'll see some of our programs and partnerships include Early Steps, the Bureau of Family Health, the Department of Education, OCDD, the Family to Family Health and Information Center, our Louisiana Youth Leadership Forum, and our Parent to Parent program. So I'll just kind of go through these because we do have brochures and information that'll detail these out in the lobby. So a little bit about how we're funded. You'll have all of these centers. We're a nonprofit. We don't charge anything for our services. Most common funding is through Department of Education and the Louisiana Developmental Disability Councils and the Bureau of Family Health. But some centers have specific funding, like Early Steps or through things like OCDD. So different funding streams, but the same kind of mission. Okay? I have a graphic on the screen. It shows the LDH regions, and you can see we're Region 4, and we serve Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, and Vermilion parishes. But like I mentioned, no matter where you are in the state, there'll be a Families Helping Family Center that can help you. And if you call for some kind of help and we don't know the answer, we can at least connect you with someone who can help. Okay? So the three main things that we do, the biggest one is peer-to-peer support. It's really more impactful if you go to somebody to get help from someone who's been through a similar situation. We've all had to go to doctors and they say, here's a diagnosis, take this medication, I'll see you in 3 weeks, and that's it. Or you can go to a parent who maybe had to go through something similar, and they can say, this is how I deal with it, I can provide some peer support. We also provide education and training, and then, like today, information, resources, and outreach to make sure that families know the help that's out there. Okay? Like I said, peer-to-peer support is the biggie. It's one-on-one support. We have trained staff. We have people with lived experience who can share what they've been through as well. This also includes professionals, and it works to encourage and empower people with disabilities and their families to keep moving forward in their journey. We also have education and training. We have webinars, anything disability related. We attend conferences. We have adult-specific topics. We can attend IEP meetings. And a big thing is teaching parents their rights and responsibilities so that they can advocate for their child and then teach their child to advocate for themselves. And then information, resources, and outreach. We want to make sure you have the right information, that it is up to date. We have newsletters, websites, and we're always looking for things like this to connect with new people and new ways to do outreach. So that's really, how I came to Families Helping Families, a little bit about who we are and what we do. And these are just some general programs we have in partnerships. You have the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council, and they engage in advocacy, systems change, and capacity building so that people with developmental disabilities can be more productive, independent, and integrated in all aspects of life. The Louisiana Youth Leadership Forum. I have some brochures out in the lobby as well for this. The Louisiana Youth Leadership Forum is a leadership empowerment camp for youth 10th to 12th grade with ADA-defined disabilities. We go and stay for 4 days on a college campus so that delegates can experience college life. And it's showing them that you have a disability, but learning about disability pride, culture. All of our staff, the majority of them have disabilities. All of our panelists are people with lived experience. So delegates can see, hey, this person is doing this in their life. They're doing this as their job. And they may not realize before that's something they can also do. We also go to the state capitol. We debate mock legislative bills, hopefully meet with legislatures. And then, of course, the fun thing is we have a big dance and a talent show. And at the end of it, delegates can go back to their homes and have more resources and hopefully be more empowered to be leaders in their community. Of course, OCDD, Acadiana Area Human Services District, they provide a wealth of those Act 378 services. So I'll let Troy go through that when it's his turn. Next one. Louisiana's Family to Family Health Information Center. If you have someone from age birth to 26 with a healthcare need, you can contact Bayou Land Families Helping Families, and they'll help you find resources and navigate healthcare systems, because we know how easy Medicaid is to navigate. It's not. So they can help with that. And again, all of these things, there's no charge. These are services that are just provided. Okay. We have a community outreach specialist from Early Steps, which is our early intervention program in Louisiana for children with disabilities and delays from birth to 3 years old. They can connect you with information about getting into, if you qualify, and your child getting early intervention services. We have a partnership with the Bureau of Family Health, making sure that families with children and youth with special health care needs are connected to us, and that we're connecting them to doctors, and the doctors know that these families are out there and they're connecting and providing help too. And of course, the big one, our contract with the Louisiana Department of Education. We service all the Region 4 parishes. Our education liaisons conduct workshops, we do one-on-one trainings, and just making sure that we promote inclusive education and work with the school system to make sure that we're supporting a free and appropriate public education for children with disabilities. The Louisiana Council's Advocacy Network. If you're interested in anything related to developmental disabilities and legislative action, this is for you. Again, LACAN is free, and you can sign up and get training on becoming an advocate, get current information on policy changes, and see how that can impact you and others. We also have an adult program coordinator that we have workshops and activities for adults with and without disabilities to make sure that we're encouraging self-advocacy. We also have our parent-to-parent program where we train volunteer support parents, where let's say that you are a parent looking for support and your child had a new diagnosis of autism and you wanted to connect with a parent who's been in a similar situation, maybe speaks, French like you do. Well, we train volunteer support parents, and we can, if someone calls us and say, I want peer support from a parent like me, we can see if we have a match for them, or we can contact the National Parent-to-Parent USA program and see if they have a volunteer support parent that matches those demographics. They can get in touch, and that parent can get peer support from someone who has been in the same situation as them. We also have a lending library over at our office down on Benman Road off Cameron. We have books, videos, DVDs, and you can always come by, check those out for 2 weeks at a time. And as usual, I kind of go through this quickly because I know that you'll probably have a lot of questions for our next presenter, but our contact information is on the screen. As I mentioned, we're at 100 Benman Road. It's right off Cameron, down by the freight trail. Our number is 337-984-3458. I have our email, which is info@fhfacadiana.org. And then on Facebook, we're FHF Acadiana, and our website is fhfacadiana.org. So anything disability related, you can contact us, and we can provide, peer support, education, information, referral, outreach, whatever you need, just like someone helped us before.
I do have a question for you really quick. Just, I'm thinking about my own children and, when they were young and everybody's busy, you might have young children. Do y'all ever just get parents that call in and say, hey, I'm overwhelmed.
Definitely.
What can you do for me? And just, do y'all just take them in?
Exactly. That happens a lot because people will call because their house is on fire, but they're calling, oh, I'm having trouble at school, and giving them a ear and we listen. But then we find out it could be something like they're worried about school, but they're living in their car and they don't know about all these other resources. So helping them, hey, we are listening, we understand, but helping them figure out what's the priority right now and making sure they get connected with the right organization, the right resource, and kind of keeping up with them, checking in, making sure they're okay, and then they can always contact us anytime.
And I do have one more question. Anybody can chime in and raise their hand if they'd like. Do y'all link to, say, mental health services if there's a mental health crisis,
Definitely.
That kind of thing?
Yeah, because there is such a high incidence of maybe a dual diagnosis, co-occurring conditions. We have, at Acadiana area, they have Tyler, which is actually connected to them. So you have the developmental disability side that they can get help, but then you have behavioral health side where they can get help as well. And then we can always refer, if they're going through a crisis, they have like coordinated system of care, CSOCs, things like that, figuring out what they might need. Are they in the systems? Do they even know what the systems are? And making sure we connect them, hey, this is where you start, making them, here's like steps, make it easy to understand. And hey, you have questions, call us back. Or we make sure this is the person you need to speak to, they're the experts, so making those connections.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And again, we always say remember those phone numbers. So their contact number is 984-3458. So if you don't know what to ask, just call and say, I don't know what to ask, but what can you do for me? Easy as that. We're going to break that down. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Next, I'll introduce Troy Abshire from Acadiana Area Human Services District, also known as OCDD, Office for Citizens with Developmental Disability, and he'll give you more information about what that agency provides.
Thank you, Ellen. Good morning, everyone. As Ellen said, I'm Troy Abshire with Acadiana Area Human Services District, or OCDD. A little brief history on how we came about to become Acadiana Area. We used to be OCDD, and that changed for us around 2013. They basically combined the Office of Behavioral Health with the Developmental Disabilities, made it a local government entity, and all that really means is we have more local control of our funds here. We don't have to answer to Baton Rouge for any funding questions or requests or how to spend the money, which is a good thing. We have more local control. That's why they were developed, to give us more the opportunity to spend the funds as we think is best, because we know the area best. So as Nicole and Ella said, the Office of Behavioral Health, or the Behavioral Health Services, is actually literally in our building. When you walk in our building, if you go left, you get DD services. If you go right, you get behavioral health and addictive disorder services. And they also have a children's services unit there in Lafayette on 302 Dulles Drive. So I'm here to talk to you about the developmental disability services and exactly what is a developmental disability. And Ellen is putting that up there, and I'll go over it. Developmental disability is something like autism, Down syndrome, intellectual disability, cerebral palsy. It is something that occurs before the age of 22, is likely to continue indefinitely, and is not attributed to a mental health issue. You also have to have some substantial functional limitations in certain areas. As you can see, there's self-care, expressive language and receptive language, learning, mobility, self-direction, capacity for independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. Basically, what we do for that is we can gather information, usually from the school system, because we use their IEPs or their pupil appraisal evaluations, which are very good for us to gather that information. If we can't determine this definition here, and actually this definition here that you see, and I've just talked about, is actually the law for Louisiana. That is how we define a developmental disability. So we have to follow that. If we can't use the information that you would bring us, or if the school system provides, then we would do the testing. And none of these services cost anything to the families or the individual. It is free of any charges for what we do. Definitely, our big thing is we want you to call our office and get into the system to see if we can provide some supports and services to you all. There's a big misconception in the community that you have to apply for our services when a child is exiting the school system. That is not true. We serve birth to death. So the earlier you get into the system, the better. And this is elementary, right? So this is the perfect age. If you have a child that you feel qualifies for our services, please call our offices. We'll give you the number later. And all you have to say is, I want to apply for services. I want to apply my child for services, and then we'll get that started, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail. The next page is going to kind of start talking about our services. The first one is Early Steps. Early Steps is actually under its own program, as Nicole had said. It's from 0 to 3 years old, but if they have Early Steps and there's an IFSP through that program and is sent to our office, they are determined eligible during that time period from 0 to 3 for our services as well. When they get to 2 years, 6 months, and they're about to turn 3, we start sending letters out to those families to say, hey, you're turning 3. It's time to contact us to see if you continue to meet our eligibility, which I talked about on the first page there. And then we start doing entry. And entry is basically, like I just said, you call our office, all you have to say is, I want to refer myself for services, or I want to refer my son or daughter for services, and then we will start asking some questions, basic information at first, and then we're going to set an appointment with you. We will meet with every individual that applies for our services. We want to meet y'all. We want to hear what's going on. We want to hear what your wants and needs are so we can get a good idea as to what program to guide you in, or the several programs that we may have that you may qualify for. So the entry process is the beginning. If you get anything out of this and you're not in our system, all you do is call and request some services, and then we'll take it from there. We don't get too much involved in what we provide right at the beginning, because I guarantee you, if we start rattling off all the services that you may qualify for, you're going to forget them. So we kind of gradually get into them and talk about your situation and go from there. So entry is our introduction to the DD services, getting into the system, and then going from there. So what is there if you do qualify? The next one I'll talk about is Flexible Family Fund. Now, I just talked about the eligibility process for being eligible for our services. That applies to every program but FFF, Flexible Family Fund. We actually use the school IEP and the exceptionality on that to determine if your son or daughter qualifies for that program. And what it is, it's a $258 cash stipend per month to help cover costs for extraordinary needs that may occur for having a child with a developmental disability. And again, it's based solely on the IEP exceptionality. If your child does not have an IEP, if you get something from a doctor saying they meet 1508 criteria, that could qualify them for this program. And it goes up until the age of 18. At 18, it stops. We have a little waiting list, and we go to the next person. So it's really a good program. Families get overwhelmed. There's extra cost when you're having a child with a disability, and this kind of alleviates some of those pressures by maybe having to buy some certain things that you may need to make their life better. So it's a really good program. We have 202 slots in our region, and there's about a 2.5-year waiting list for that, but it's always moving, because somebody turns 18, we go to the next person, and it continues. The next program is our Individual and Family Support Program. That is our largest non-waiver program. It's probably one of my favorites because of everything we can do with it. We can do home modifications, adaptive devices, assistive technology, dental services, personal care, PCA, respite, anything that you may feel that may help benefit the child and the family, we can look at it. There is a priority system because we always have more requests than we do money, so we have to really prioritize and try to get the most bang for our bucks with the money that we're using this for. This is 100% state general funds, so this is your tax dollars that is being used for this. So we want to be very efficient with this and make sure that people are getting what they need, when they need it, and why they need it. So great program. We've literally, I think I can say we've literally saved some lives with this program. it's wonderful. Supported living, that is a little program that we have also under the family support component. And what that does is we have about probably 10, 15 individuals that are living in their own apartments. So it's 18 and over. And they just need some minimal supports, 40 hours or less per month of living on their own, teaching them independent living skills. And that's also under the family support program. Support coordination is another thing that we do. I'm sure y'all can all feel that having a child with, or just having a child is sometimes overwhelming. But having a child with a developmental disability can really be overwhelming. So we have some support coordination in our office where you can call us and you can say, look, like Nicole, they call them too, I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. What can we get for some help? We're trying to navigate the school system, the SSI system, your system. There's all these other different systems and all, and a lot of times it's alphabet soup. We have all these acronyms, and sometimes it's the same acronyms, and it's different agencies, and they mean different things, and so we can kind of square those away for you to help you understand those things. So we have support coordination that can, staff in our office that kind of help you get through all the mud and the soup of all this stuff and help make it clearer for you all to understand and to guide you in the direction that you may need to go or where you need to go and what's best for what you're going through at this specific time. We have a great network of providers and community partners that we are always working with to get the information to the families and getting the resources to the families. I find Region 4, we are really good at that. We also are the largest region in the state in regards to services provided for DD. So we try to stay active and let you all know what's out there, what's coming up, what's available to make your life and your child's life better. School transition services. School transition actually started just when it was high school. It was when it was the person was exiting their senior year and exiting out of the school system or transitioning out of school into the adult world. But over the years, this has developed with Ellen and her staff and her co-workers that we've gone down to the elementary level to where we will come into the school system with parents' permission and the school's permission to IEPs and talk about our services. We get calls all the time to say, hey, I have this situation, or a parent would like for you to come and talk about your services because they're needing some help. So we started off in high schools, we kind of went down to the middle schools, and now we're actually going into the elementary schools with permission to discuss that because we want to get you in our system as early as possible. You may not need us right now, but I'm pretty sure as your child gets older, you're going to need us in the future because the older they get, the more complex things get, and we can be there for you. So if you're already in the system, then we don't have to go through all the eligibility processes and all of that. You're already in. You can just call and say, hey, I need some help, and we can react right away without doing that. So it's wonderful to have that partnership with the school system to do this, talking to the teachers, the families to get our services out in the community because the earlier you're in the system, the better. You may not need us, like I said, 10 years, but eventually things are going to come up and you will need our assistance. I'll just briefly, residential, that is group homes, community homes, that is more for more adolescents or teenagers and adults where they can go into a community home, a group home. It's more structured. For some reason or another, they can't live in their own home. Maybe there's medical reasons, behavioral reasons, family reasons, and so we can help assist the individuals to live in a more secure, structured setting where they can get the help they need, and it's supervised 24 hours. The big program, which is the waivers, this is our biggest program. Last year, we served over 2,700 individuals in this region alone. We are the largest in the state. And it is no longer a first come, first serve program. There's still word out there. We changed this in 2018, 2019. It's no longer first come, first serve. It's based on need. And the way we do it is through screenings. So if you come into the system, you're going to get screened to see if you qualify for a waiver. And then any point after that, if you're in the system, you can request a screening, and we can see if you will meet the eligibility for a waiver. And what those 4 waivers we oversee is the Children's Choice, the residential options, the supports, and the new opportunities waiver. And what we've done is, based on your age, depends on which waiver you're going to get. So if you're under 21, you're going to get a Children's Choice waiver. And that is a capped waiver. If you put it in hours per week, it's about 20 hours per week. And it can also provide maybe some in-home modifications and things like that, but that takes away from your hours. But it is available through that waiver. Also, if you're 18 to 21, you have the choice of going into a supports waiver instead of the Children's Choice. And that depends, because sometimes kids, they exit school at 18, and they may want to go to a day program, and they don't want the hours in the home anymore. They may want to go do that. So they can use and get access to the supports waiver. However, at the age of 21, there is no choice. You have to age out of the Children's Choice, and you go into the first adult waiver, which is the supports waiver. And the supports waiver is geared more towards vocational type of services. And it does provide some minimal in-home supports, about 171 hours a year, but it's more focused for vocational, getting into a day program. Here in the Lafayette area, we have 3. We have Lafayette ARC, we have Arc of Acadiana, and we have Impact. They all offer their own unique type of service, but they don't just sit around all day coloring or painting or doing that. They have to get out in the community. It's vocational based. They can serve and do little jobs. If they have a little job, they get paid at least minimum wage. So it develops skills for them, not only vocationally, but also socially, and interaction, those type of things, and helps them out. That is also a capped waiver. The supports waiver is capped, and it all depends on the service, but it's most vocational day program and with those minimal in-home supports. However, if that doesn't meet the need, then we can look at a residential options waiver. And that covers also some vocational services, but it also covers more in-home and community-based hours. It could cover some modifications, adaptive devices, things of that nature as well. But mostly it's the individual wants to go to the day program, but at home and in the community, they're needing more support than what the supports waiver can provide, so we can give those extra hours to make sure that the individual is having a fulfilled, healthy, and safe life, and also helping out the families too. And then if the residential options waiver is not enough, we can ask to bump to the new opportunities waiver, which is a waiver that can provide up to 24-hour supports. We, on a regional level, cannot make that decision. That has to be kicked up to the state office for those services. But we're finding that almost all of the people who are getting the specific waivers are not needing to bump up to the new opportunities waiver. We have those few occasions, but it's not very many. The people are getting what they need when they need it through either the Children's Choice, the supports, or the residential options waiver. So it's a wonderful thing that they've done this. We're serving more people for less money by going from a first come, first serve to a needs-based, and which is great. It's good to always serve more people who need it when they need it. Another thing we have is some donated dental services. That is kind of through our family support program. For young kids that have Medicaid, that is usually covered under that. This usually falls for adults 21 and over, where it's not covered through Medicaid, but there are some times that we have served some younger individuals for dental services. And usually it's through sedation. Some kids, they just don't like to go to the dentist. And with a developmental disability on top of that, it gets very difficult, but they have to see a dentist. And, you know, the dentist are very important in those kids' lives to have that checked out. So sometimes sedation is needed, and Medicaid will not pay for that sometimes, so sometimes we can pay for those services as well. And lastly, we have our resource center. Our resource center is fantastic here. We have 2 psychologists, we have a behavioral specialist, we have an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist, and they will assess any needs that may be wanted or needed in the home and in the community, and give an evaluation and kind of help the families get the specific and right thing that they need. A lot of times we've seen a family go to a company and say, oh, I need a wheelchair, you know, and then they go get this wheelchair that's just a generic wheelchair, and it's not fitting the child or the adult right, and Medicaid paid for it, and then they actually needed something more specific, and Medicaid doesn't pay for wheelchairs but once every 5 years, I believe, and they're stuck. So by getting an OT or PT assessment through our resource center, they can get the right wheelchair, or the right bath chair, or the right accommodation, or the right accessibility tool. That way they're not wasting their resources or their money, and they're getting the exact right thing. When it comes to some behavioral issues, we can call our psychologist or request a psychologist to go out and do an assessment to help the families. And we have 2 great psychologists that work in this area, and they help us out, especially with the kiddos, to see what's going on in the home. They have gone into the school as well with the school's permission to kind of give another set of eyes and ears to maybe the school system is overlooking something, or the parents overlooking something, and they just go in and say that. Or they see something, the school system says, hey, we've seen this, and then at school, and then the psychologist may see it at the home and then can make adjustments and make recommendations to that, and then also talk to us about possible services to help make sure that those things are followed through and carried out in the home and the community. So that's a list of our services. This, of course, is brief. I literally could have talked about waiver for 3 hours in itself, because it is such a large program. But if you get anything out of this, call our office. The numbers are up here, 337-262-5610. And if you're not sure if you're in the system, we can tell you. If you're not in the system, just call and get in. You may not need us right now, but at least you would be in the system, and if something happens in the future, and it usually will, we can react quickly, efficiently, and hopefully productively to help you guys out with that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I do have a couple of follow-up questions for you, just to clarify. The last thing that you indicated, the resource services, Nicole mentioned dual diagnoses. So, you know, we have a student that has a developmental disability, but if they have mental health needs, that kind of thing, it sounds like the resource center will help provide that, and y'all will help link to those mental health services?
What we'll do is, if there are no behavioral health services involved at the time, the first thing we'll do is, before doing a resource center, we'll try to link them to the behavioral health resources. We have our own, of course, but there's others out there that we may recommend as well. And then if that seems not to be going, then we'll call the resource center in to maybe give us an assessment of what they're seeing, and then maybe some recommendations of what they may think we should send out to. So yeah, we'll help them with the behavioral health stuff as well.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So I know that comes up periodically, certainly. And another question, and I'm asking this because I feel like I've heard it a number of times recently, the dentistry. So sedation dentistry is often needed, because of the anxiety related to that. So it sounds like sometimes Medicaid doesn't cover that. Is that right?
I'm not sure about
Okay.
under 21.
Okay.
Because it's under the Medicaid state plan for them to cover dental services, but over 21.
I
it
see.
is
That's where y'all
not.
can
Yeah,
offer.
and waiver actually started covering dental services, but I think it's finding the dentist to do it and accept the waiver rates and all of that. So that's just started last year, so I think that's a work in process.
Okay.
I do want to make a comment about the behavioral health stuff, though, because there's a misconception. When an individual has a behavioral health and a developmental disability issue, we're normally the first ones to get the call and like say, oh, they have a developmental disability. I need y'all to treat this person. We do not provide treatment. We're not behavioral health specialists. So if they have that diagnosis, we cannot provide any treatment for those diagnoses and stuff. We provide supports and services. We can get you to the treatment facility or to the doctor's appointment through some services, but we can't provide the actual treatment. That gets a little frustrating, I can say, because they just see the developmental disability, and it's not the developmental disability that needs to be treated, it's the behavioral health issue, and we'll give the support to link them, get them to those type of things, but we don't do treatment. We'll get them to the professionals who know how to do those treatment. I know a lot about DD, behavioral health. That's a whole nother ball game and stuff that I'm not qualified to do. So we want to make sure that we're getting them to the right people.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, and you hear the word link, we say the word linkage a lot, but it's really just getting people to the people that can provide the service. We consider ourselves in the school system, linking them to y'all, referring them to these agencies, but it's just getting people where they need to go.
Correct.
Just like that.
It's networking, just getting everybody, and I always tell you, it's a collaboration, depending on the person's needs and everything. It's collaborating with the family, the individual, the school system, our system, whatever system that they need to get to, and working together to get the child the best services available.
Right. Well, great. Thank you so much. Any other questions for you? If we, for people that are watching online or on Facebook Live, if you have questions, we'll get them answered. We'll contact these people to get the answers to those questions. I think really earlier is better. That's what are there. So for those elementary parents, earlier is better. Don't wait, call, ask what they can do, ask if they qualify. If you don't know if they qualify, we know the numbers we say over and over, 262-5610 to call AAHSD, just call, and you can keep it short and simple and just say, I think I need some help and I might qualify, and they'll walk with you down that road. And then also Families Helping Families, 984-3458, and they can link to a zillion things as well. So both of these agencies are providing a very broad range of services. I think in Lafayette Parish in Region 4, we're really lucky to have these services, so we need to make sure that we get the word out and communicate that to families and students, parents and guardians. So again, what we've tried to do here today is provide this information in as many avenues as we can. The flyers for these agencies will be available. We're going to get them out to our teachers and those kinds of things. So you saw flyers and all of that information. All of this will be available. Just ask for a little bit of patience in having us get those to the platforms where they're accessible for your children's teachers. These recordings will be made available and be accessible to not just on YouTube. I think y'all can rewatch that. We're going to get these links and these recordings and make them available in some ways on platforms that we can have your child's teacher make available to you. But again, I'll go back over and over. If you've seen me in meetings, I write down 262-5610 on the back of my card and tell people to just call, and 984-3458. I think both of these numbers are always worth calling, and Families Helping Families to meet with people who can relate to you and can guide you through their own experiences, because everybody has a different experience, so we'll all learn together and do our best to continue forward. So if you have any questions, you can contact the school board at 337-521-7000, the Department of Special Education, for more information. And again, a little bit of patience. We'll be getting this information really as easily accessible as we can make it in the very near future. So thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. Nicole Flores, Troy Abshire, giving us all this really great information today. Thank you again.